Hey, this is Mr. Schmitz, Algebra 1 teacher, Bellevue High School, Bellevue, Florida. This is my observation. Let's go.
So for this lesson, I've decided to break it up into 3 sections. There's going to be a warm-up. That's between 12 to 15 minutes, including the briefing on what they're going to do for the main part of the lesson today. After the briefing, we're going to go into a scavenger hunt, which is about 10 questions. And then after the scavenger hunt, which should take between 20 and 25 minutes, we're going to go into the assessment, and that should take the last 10 minutes of class, and it's the exit. So when students come into the classroom, I have a few things set up procedural-wise for them to do. So immediately to their left, they're going to see their work for the day, and the work will consist of, for this lesson, 2 sheets of paper. One sheet will have holes punched in it, and for them that indicates that they're going to hold on to that paper. It's going to have a guide for them to be able to do all their work, going over the 4 main types of operations that they need to know for polynomial operations. And then the second sheet will be their actual scavenger hunt, which they're going to turn in at the end of the day. There should be a tray, which they'll turn their work in as they go to leave. When they come in, there's also all the things that they need if they need it. So for instance, there's pencils, there's a hole puncher, there's a pencil sharpener, and so it's just for them to get set up as they enter the classroom. So students are going to know what to do as they enter the classroom. So obviously they pick up their work, and so they know what to do. Just by that, they can kind of get a gauge of how much work I'm going to ask for them to do that day. You might hear some complaints because, the more papers, the more they think they're going to do, even if they're not going to have to do it all. On the Common Board, they don't really look because it's just there's a lot of math language up there. As much as I'd like for students to look up there and read the math language and be like, oh, okay, I understand that now, they don't. Instead, what they'll do is they'll go to their seat. They'll look and see if they need a computer. They'll sit down. They'll read what the warm-up is and what they're supposed to do for the day. And that's how they'll figure it out. So I will brief them on it, even if they don't read it. I'll tell them what they're going to do for the day. And this is just a short cliff notes of what they're going to do. It's nothing too elaborate. Aside from this, when they come in and they log onto the computer and they do whatever their task is for the warm-up, one of the things you'll typically see students do is they'll log into Canvas. They'll click on the date that we are doing. So for instance, for this assignment, it's March 1st. They'll click on March 1st. And this is where they're going to have like the meat of what they're supposed to do. So it's not just the cliff notes that they would see on the overhead. It would be their homework, the warm-up, if we have the warm-up, their notes they can click on, they can download, they can look at it, and then the exit ticket as well. So for the warm-up, I find Blooklets to be really, really good for a multitude of reasons, not just for warm-up. So the best thing about a Blooklet is it's not limited to a single question at a time, whereas Kahoot, you throw a question up and all the students will do that single question and sort of a time-based thing. They're going to click as fast as they can, and then you're going to have like the few students that can answer fast be the ones on the top. It kind of is like that for Blooklet, where the faster you can answer questions correctly, you're going to get rewarded, but they work at their own pace. So it's not like all the students answer one question at a time. Some students will answer faster than others, but the students that want to take their time, there's not a limit of how much time it needs, they have to take. So, if they want to take a few extra seconds to answer a question, they don't have to worry about competing from another student who can answer the fastest. So for me, on my end, when I'm looking at a Blooklet, It solves two things. One is students get all the practice that they need. They can just keep working through it. There's a little bit of a competitive edge to that. They're not restricted to the pace of everybody else in the classroom. But then for me, I can look at the booklet and I can scroll down to the bottom and I can see which students are struggling and maybe which students aren't even engaged in the questions, and then I can attack that accordingly. So I'll look up real quick. If I see a student engaged in it and then just struggling, I can come over and help them out, maybe give them a few questions, a few pointers, and then they're going to start answering questions correctly after that. Or if I walk over there all discreet like and I can see that maybe they're not on task, they're doing something else, I can quickly get them on task. So after the booklet, when we do the scavenger hunt, the first thing that you should notice is anybody that walks into the classroom they walk in on one of our collaborative exercises, the students are very engaged. I've created the framework to get students engaged over the course of the year. There's a few things that get them engaged. The first is they're going to be assessed as a group. So the students that maybe are struggling, they're going to have more incentive to ask for help, figure out what they're supposed to do to get the questions correct because they know that the rest of their group is counting on them. And then maybe the students that are doing well are going to take a second, slow down, make sure the rest of the people in their group are understanding and they're getting it because they know that their grade is going to count against how the rest of their team is doing. So they might know it, they might feel confident of it, but then they're going to ask and they're going to say, hey, do you understand? The type of arguments that you're going to hear in these groups are very organic. They want to know the answer, and if they don't, or if they get something and they're kind of on the fence, they will come up to me and they will ask me. They'll say, Mr. Schmitz, what is the correct answer here? Why is the correct answer? And I feel like part of that is just having this sort of collaborative, competitive, yet everybody is all in it together sort of atmosphere, and it's really worked out well over the course of the year. So once they're done with the scavenger hunt, I'm going to give a debriefing if we've got time. So I'm still kind of not sure how long it's going to take for students to finish the scavenger hunt. I'm accounting 20 minutes to do 10 questions. It's a little bit different than what they're used to because the answers they have to actually find, and they're going to have to walk around the room and look for it. Whereas in, scavenger hunts in the past, they just go one after the next, and they just got to make sure that they get the correct answer and they can figure out the riddle. In this case, they can't just go from one question to the next. They have to find the next question, which adds a little bit of intrigue, and I think they're going to be a little bit more excited and they're going to be a little bit more on their toes trying to find out where to go. But at the same time, that might take a little bit of extra time. So if we have time, I'm going to do a debriefing, and the question that I really want to talk about for them is the composite geometric question, where they've got a big box and there's a little box inside the big box, and the little box is not shaded, the big box is shaded, and they have to find the area of the shaded region. So this is a standard that they've done before. I've taught this in 6th grade, where they're going to take the area of the entire box and then subtract the smaller box. And I just want to make sure that they know that step, because it's important for them to know before they go into the EOC, because that's the question on the EOC. Use deductive reasoning to figure out what the box is. So if they can do the problem, that's great. But after that, I want to ask them, this is the higher order question I'm going to ask them, where would you use this? Like, why would you use this? Why is this important to know? What I'm hoping to hear back from them is maybe like this could be a room and you're trying to find the area of the room, and then the white box is the closet. But there's a lot of different scenarios where this could be actually useful. So if they don't say these other areas, I'm going to use the room scenario, but I'm really hoping to hear something interesting from them, and so I can talk about that. Finally, we have the assessment, and the assessment's going to be on quizzes. It's 10 questions. Probably about half of them are layup questions where they're going to be able to get the answer pretty easily. Just looking on their notes, they should be able to figure out. And so the reason for this, I want to get them to get some grades that will help boost them up. I give some difficult quizzes over the course of the year. And every once in a while, I want to make sure that, if they're doing it, they're paying attention and they're doing the things that they're supposed to, that they can get some confidence and they can get some good scores. And because quizzes is going to give them the score right back at the end, you're going to hear them and they're going to say, "Oh, Mr. Schmitz, I got an 80. Mr. Schmitz, I got 100." And that's good to hear. And so for a lot of them, they will probably get 100s if they do it. For the other students that aren't doing so well, I'm hoping they at least get a 70%. And then you can see the students that probably aren't paying enough attention, and they're probably going to be getting less than 50%. So using that, I'll take the report. And I'll see which question the students are actually struggling with, the ones that are paying attention, and then I will hit that on a later date because we're so pressed for time in this course, and this time of the year with spring break coming right around, with the DPMA right around the corner next week. I'll probably end up hitting this when we do the EOC review. I'll take a note of which question they're struggling with the most. I might hit on it real quick on Thursday and Friday. Just say, "Hey, look, this is the question you missed the most. Here, this is what y'all did wrong. Here's the answer." But the real meat of it, where I'm actually going to talk to them through it and trying to figure out why they might have missed it, that'll happen later. And that's it. That is my observation. If you have any questions, just let me know. The whole goal for this observation is just to simply get students to go through the processes to solving polynomials with operations, some abstract questions, get them to build some fluency, maybe a little bit with the application with the geometric question. But this is a little bit of a build off of what they've learned this year with exponent laws, combining like terms, order of operations. I don't hit a lot of this year. We're dealing with so much fluency stuff that some of the sit down, do it on paper, we don't hit a lot of because I need to get the low-hanging fruit, the things that the students I think can memorize with fluency first, and then this kind of stuff where a lot of students actually might struggle with in my class with the way that we're able to use calculators in the EOC. I just need to show them, hey, look, you can use this calculator now. Just go through the processes. With enough practice, they should pick it up, and then they won't struggle on the EOC.